It's the middle of October. It's not even Halloween yet, which means it's probably time to start the gross commercialization of Christmas. Now it doesn't just annoy me, it breaks my heart because we are turning a holiday that should be sacred or at least special into something that is somewhere between mundane and kitsch and slightly nauseating. Because we confuse spending money with loving each other and giving gifts of significance, don't we? And don't think that I'm exempt from this criticism, because I can remember shopping on a Christmas Eve for my wife. And I thought, well, the advantages to this are the store's empty and I don't have near as many decisions to make, and the disadvantage is, what am I going to do for this treasure in my life that can convey to her that she is in fact a treasure? And not that I just didn't have to just check a box. So it is with that interest in giving you an opportunity to give something to the men in your life that will convey something that is important to you and important to them, and that you will have had a chance to think about. So I have here a selection of things that we have distilled over the last 12 months from our own experience, and the things that we've seen and the things that we've used and the things that we've bought that might be useful. So these items that I'm going to show you range from very affordable to pretty darn expensive. But there's something in here that, almost everybody can afford, that will work for almost anybody. And on the other end of the spectrum, if you've been saving up and are looking for something that really makes a statement and is particularly useful, maybe there'll be something here that fits that description also. So let's dive in and see what is in the stocking. The first one is a stud finder that's not junk. Most stud finders are junk. This one is by Franklin Sensors, and I will just tell you, without demonstrating everything that there is to demonstrate, this thing works, and it will rarely, if ever, lead you astray when you're getting ready to poke that hole in that drywall and the stakes are high. All right, and next up, this little dandy may be both the least expensive and the most useful thing that you could get for someone who ever has to measure anything. It's a laser measuring device. You can press the button and read exactly, or at least almost exactly, how far away that laser is registering in feet, inches, millimeters, any other increment that is ordinarily used in this world can be registered right here, whether it's overhead, whether it's across the yard, whether it is across the desk. This is a handy thing and it doesn't cost much. Now you can spend more for these, but this little Craftsman unit works great. Here's something that's related. In fact, it's related to several of the items in the stocking, and that is the need to know what the temperature is, and in some cases the humidity. This is a little remote Bluetooth compatible thermometer and humidity sensor that you can place any place and then read it on your phone. You can put it in your crawl space, you can put it in your attic, you can put it in your shop, you can put it in your office, you can put it in your kitchen in case you're always arguing about the temperature with your bride. These things are pretty handy and they cost very little, so think about that. Nice to be able to tell from a distance, even a great distance, what some of the environmental factors are in any particular spot in your life. So continuing on the theme of temperature and sensing temperature, this is an infrared thermometer, and you can point it at a surface, pull the trigger, and it will tell you that my fear grinder is 59 degrees right now. So what, you say? Well, maybe you've got a mechanic in your life that needs to be able to tell if the temperature gauge on the dash of the Dodge is actually reading accurately, or if it's not overheating, or if the top of the thing is frying, or maybe in the kitchen you're getting inconsistent outcomes in recipes and you begin to question the temperature of your oven. Boom, you can get corroboration, or you can call baloney on what your oven's telling you on the dial because you know exactly what the temperature is. Or maybe you can go outside and point it at various spots on your house to see where you're losing heat, or illustrate a conversation about thermal efficiency in windows. I don't know, but I could visualize it. Even if you're not a blacksmith and need one of these that'll register in the heat treating range, this is not that. You can buy those. Cy has one. But even absent a blacksmith shop, you can get these. This particular one, E-Tech City, works good, is good, there may be a reason that somebody in your life could use one of these. Continuing the theme of temperature and making. The problem is that you never really know, or I never really know, whether the chicken is about to be overcooked or undercooked. You never really know whether that steak is medium or medium well or leather. And this takes a guesswork out. This is made by ThermPro. Courtney got this for Kelly last year for Christmas. Turn it on, stick it in the item you're worried about, and it'll tell you the temperature, and perhaps most importantly, right on the back, it tells you the recommended internal temperature for various meats cooked to various designations. This, my friends, has been maybe last Christmas's biggest win. One more thing in the electronics department that is always a problem, and that is the batteries. Where are the batteries? We're out of batteries. What battery do we need? This thing, Battery Daddy. Is that about the coolest thing you ever saw? It is to me. I don't know who turned us on to this. I think maybe Kelly found it online or it came from one of the kids. But every size battery you need, you know how many you could stock. You can buy them in bulk and do some savings and not just have them lost by the time the appliance quits working. There's even a little tester in there. This, my friends, is a game changer for keeping these kind of gizmos running. So check out Battery Daddy. Doesn't cost much, and everybody's going to be glad to get it, particularly if you stock the thing up before you give it to them. So the next item is something that you've heard me talk about a lot on the channel, and that's Leatherman. And this is a good moment to say, look, none of this stuff is sponsored. Nobody is giving me money to talk about their stuff. But I will admit to you that Leatherman, unsolicited, once again, thank you Leatherman, sent us 2 of their arcs, their latest, greatest. And I pulled one out the other day and looked at it, and I thought, yep, that's the latest, greatest. Very similar to the Free, which I love. I've already talked about that. There are some improvements, and not just in the way it looks, but in the way it functions. I don't know that if Leatherman was not helping me by sending me new tools, if I would switch over, because the Free is so great, but they have sort of streamlined and emphasized what has worked best in the Free and taken out some of what I frankly haven't used since I've owned it. So if there's one thing that defines Leatherman, it's innovation, you know, sort of changing what they do to comply with the feedback of the people that are using them. And this is just going to go under the category of one more win from Portland. And one more thing about this company and the services they offer. If you want to make this special, you can go to the website and order the tool with the engraving that you want on it. They can personalize it and put names and addresses and phone numbers and blood types and, you know, Bible verses or anything else that you would like to have them engrave on these things can be put on. That makes it a Christmas gift that they are always going to remember and associate with what you and they spent time doing. So how do you beat that, right? How do you beat that? What do we have here? Oh, look at that. Somebody put a form setter in my stocking. Actually, they put 2, a 3-pounder and a 5-pounder. These things are not quite consistently on our website now, but almost. Andrew's coming up to speed on his production, and we've got, I think, about 2 dozen in stock right now, and he says I'll have another 100 by Thanksgiving, so that should work. And it's not just that I have these to market that explains the fact that in so many of my videos, I have one in my hand using it, digging and driving. And let me just say this, I have just been awarded a design patent on these things. I guess that sort of confirms what I had suspected, and that is that there are brick hammers and there are masonry hammers and there are cross-peen hammers, there's all kinds of hammers. But it turns out this is a patentable design. And if you get this for somebody that does work, real work, they will thank you over and over and over until they either A, lose it, or B, somebody steals it. All right, the next item is very obscure, and it pertains only to blacksmiths who are tired of using only a Venturi-type burner in a propane forge. If you've got a blacksmith and you've ever heard him or her talk about switching over to a ribbon burner forge, we have ribbon burners for sale. They're well constructed. The first set of these that I used in my big forge, I got 7 years out of the pair. Now that wasn't full time, but I would say it was the equivalent of 4 years full-time. They work great, they're quiet, they increase fuel economy, and they increase temperature. So if you know somebody that's ever expressed an interest in a ribbon burner, come to the website and we've got them. Now we're talking about shop tools, right? We've already talked about digital stuff, but these are a hybrid. These are a crossover product. It's made by 3M, it's called WorkTunes, it's Bluetooth ear protection. So if you're in your shop and you don't have to communicate with anybody else, you can listen to whatever you want to listen to and simultaneously protect your hearing. And these are not mine, but I'm going to make sure Kelly gets a look at this before Christmas, because frankly I think this is probably what I need, and maybe you know somebody that needs them too. If you've got kids, I'm thinking of, a 9-year-old boy and you want him to learn something and get his hands on a toy that'll actually teach him some sort of life skill, or a girl, get him some little pulleys and some paracord and let them set up maybe a little bitty zip line, not for themselves, but perhaps for their little brother or sister. Kidding. But they can play with all sorts of ways to start to understand the magic of mechanical advantage with pulleys and shivs. And that you can get bigger ones, and maybe you guys go out together and build a zip line in the backyard. Or maybe you set him down in front of August Henneke's tree service videos and see how he uses speed lines to slide big chunks of wood from the top of trees clear across houses. Show them some ways that pulleys can change their ability to do things and get work done, and then get them some of these little things. And if they wear out on them, they get bored, you can always use this to, there's a million things you can do with pulleys. So, you can go to your local hardware store and get a darn good toy. Okay, a completely different way to think about giving a gift. Maybe buy some sort of a commemorative silver or gold medallion, depending on budget. And those things, there's a wide variety of ways that you can buy, pieces of silver that can be collected either because of numismatic value or just a desire to have silver, or to give a responsible kid a taste of having and holding a precious metal. There's a whole thing about pre-1964 silver coins and the ones that are minted now, and this is easy. What does a Susan B. Anthony silver dollar cost now? I don't know. But it's something that you could give to a young person and then circle back with them and touch bases and see if they've hung on to it, and give them an attaboy or an attagirl if they've managed to keep track of it. So I talked about the ribbon burner. So now I'm talking back to the people who have a blacksmith. And that is, if your blacksmith is serious, if it looks like he or she is going to do this for a long time and needs a lifetime blacksmith apron, we've got them. My friend Steve Harris makes these for me, and I just got to say, this is as good as you can buy. The brass fittings, the bridle leather, this stuff is, if there's a complaint, it's that this stuff is heavy. Okay, you will never wear this out. And there are a lot of tasks and hobbies and shops where, doggone it, you need some protection. None of them exactly like a blacksmith shop, unless it's a glass blowing hobby that someone has. But I will just tell you that if you go to our website, essentialcraftsman.com, we've got these on there along with the other items, including, perhaps underneath a blacksmith apron like this, you would want an Essential Craftsman t-shirt. Now perhaps you wouldn't, but if you would, we've got them, and people like them. So I've given sartorial advice on this channel before, and I'm about to do it again. Sartorial means of or pertaining to clothing. I would probably assert that pertaining to men's clothing, perhaps, but there are a couple of things. Number one, we tend to get items of clothing that we really like. They really fit, they really feel good, they serve the purpose for which we use them, and we gradually grieve as they wear out because we just know we can't replace it. How many times do we find the pants that work or the shirts that work, and then by the time we need them again, some brilliant manufacturer has decided that they won't carry them or make them anymore? Well, Nate discovered the coolest solution to that with this shirt. This shirt belonged to Bill Bolin, Nate's father-in-law. Bill's deceased now. Bill was a great guy. He was talented, he was accomplished, he was a man of strong opinions and strong tastes, and Nate ended up with this shirt. Now it's a fairly, on the surface of it, generic flannel shirt, but Field and Stream and the blend of fabric, and Nate just loved it. It fit him perfectly, and as it wore out, he thought, wow, I will never replace that. And then he thought, well, maybe I'll just check on eBay. And he checked on eBay, and he has found multiple copies of this exact shirt, and he's bought them. And he has enough of the shirt that he loves to last him for a good long time now, and it didn't cost him much. So file that away. If you have a particular item of clothing that you have loved, well loved, and worn out, if you've still got the label, get onto eBay and look around. I can't tell you where or how. You'll figure that out. But odds are you're going to find the same thing already broken in that you can just pick up and keep moving, exactly as if entropy did not pertain to your clothing. I don't wear bill hats. I don't know why. I did as a young man, but at some point I just decided not to. I thought I couldn't afford the friction at my hairline, right? By the way, what do you call 20 rabbits in a line walking backwards? A receding hairline. Sorry. But so hats. I found that hat alongside the road. Some poor fisherman lost it, probably left it in his drift boat driving back on the Wilbur Glide cutoff. I pulled over. I thought, great hat. Not a chance it'll fit me because I've got a head like a watermelon, and it's a rain hat that I really like. I like it. So there's no brand in here. I can't help you with that, but I'll tell you this. I bought a Filson Crusher canvas hat. It was great, except the cotton in the Filson hat shrunk until I couldn't pull it down on my head. So if you live in a rainy climate, or your man does, find him a hat that you think he's going to like. You can always exchange it if he doesn't, but it's nice to be able to keep the rain off your head. Other end of the spectrum, it's nice to be able to keep the sun off your head. I got this in Arizona. They're everywhere down there. It's great. Comes down low enough that it actually protects you. The downside is it comes down low enough that sometimes you kind of can't see where you're going before you bump into things. In terms of work hat, this was my dad's McDonald T. Maybe that was prior to McDonald T. Tin hat. Tin hats are cool. You can get those on eBay. Now, some companies, some employers, some places of work won't let you wear a metal hard hat anymore. But, I mean, think about it. There's a wide range of hard hats available. But be careful, because a guy gets attached to his hard hat, and the last thing he wants to do is show up with something brand new. But the last two of these are somewhere between gag gifts and darn nice to have. The first of those is a chef's hat. Now, Kelly made this. If you have a cook, if you sew, or if you get online and get a chef's hat, somebody might be pleased. They might even wear it. Doesn't cost much, fits in the stocking. And then the real showstopper here is if you have somebody named Daniel, and if your last name is Boone, or not, I mean, nothing says good taste like a coonskin hat. I hope that your shopping experience is pleasant. I hope that your gifting experience is wonderful, because as the Savior said, it's way better to give than to receive. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work.